like to call this meeting to order to the Blackhawk County Regular Session Supervisors for January 28th, 2025. Roll call, please, Mr. Zimmerman.
Brant. Here. Hall. Leyland.
Here.
Schwartz. Here.
Everyone, please join us for a moment of silence that reflects on our actions today. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1 is the agenda received as proposed or amended.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is received. Is there anyone in the audience today that would like to speak in public comments on something that is not on today's agenda? Anyone online? You would like to? Oh, please, after the podium, give your name and address. Your comments.
Hi, my name is Cornell Houston. I apologize, y'all got bear with me because my disability tend to stutter. I'm coming here to ask the courts to restore my deed, give back my property. I've been homeless for 6 years, and the Supreme Court ruled in my favor to maintain my property, but Blackhawk County still took my property and kept it. And the people with no boundaries, that Supreme Court ruled it against them to get back my house. They still ain't gave me back my house. My kidneys is shutting down. I recently taken off the kidney donor list because I don't have an established residence. I need my property back as soon as possible. According to 427.9, I filed everything I did and had to do, and he very much aware of my situation. DHS made a mistake back in 2012 and forgot to let Blackhawk County know I was disabled, and they kept on counting my taxes. And once they found out, I brought all the information to them. They still didn't, and made me go for the court. I took the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in my favor and said he's correct. He remain in his property until the dispute is done. That day, Blackhawk County even looked over the stay that the Supreme Court gave me and still put me on my property. I need my property back as soon as possible. I'm asking y'all to please restore my property, my deed, as soon as y'all possible. According to 427.9, county supervisors just had to call the county treasurer and let them know the mistake was made. Do this law apply to African Americans or what?
So we don't have that response for you today, but I was going to suggest if you haven't left maybe your contact information, I don't know, Tim got your name and address, but I was going to say also maybe contact information in the board office so that someone could follow up with you and get a little more information. Would that be acceptable? Do you have a phone number or somewhere?
Yeah, I got a phone number, and my place of revenue is very questionable. I'm homeless.
So, but you do have a phone number where we could contact you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would you leave that with us, or would you be willing to leave it at the board
Now,
office?
can I do it now?
Yeah, please.
319 288-6803.
288-6803.
Correct. And if you choose to look at the case, Houston versus No Boundaries.
Who's one versus who?
No Boundaries.
Thank you.
And with all the information I got, I've been trying to keep my house since 2018.
Cornell, was your house on Albany?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else that has public comments, apologize for seeing. We'll move on to claims and payments then. Item 3, resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and the county auditor be authorized to direct to issue payments and various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved. Second.
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $386,147.18, and the 60/40 fund is $2,553.35. There are just a few larger construction payments in here. We are making a payment to Peters Construction, $50,808.21. A few for the Casey Lake renovations. That totals about $100,000. And I think those are the only large significant items today. Everything appears to be in order. Any questions?
Any questions? This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Grant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 4, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. All the roads are in good condition today. Our secondary roads crews are out cutting brush and trees. We've taken down several large trees throughout the county in the last several weeks due to the good weather. PCI is almost done with the majority of the grading work on that project on Brandon Road, just northeast of LaPorte City. They will, of course, come back in the spring and do the permanent seeding. I will bring some photos the next time I come to the meeting to show you their progress. They've done really well considering the time of year that we've been in. And then in-house, we're working on getting plans ready for DOT lettings later this year, a bridge project in particular. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Rory Giving, Facilities Director. Just wanted to give you a quick update on a few of the projects that we currently have going on right now. We actually have 4 large projects happening all at the same time. Over here at the courthouse, we are hopefully be wrapping up the new auditor's edition over here. It's actually down to flooring. We're running into some scheduling conflicts with the contractor on getting the entryway flooring completed, so we may just be looking at putting in something temporarily just to be able to get those folks from floor to floor into their new department. And so that's something that we're working kind of behind the scenes on that. We are also working on the IT server room. We had to do asbestos abatement in that area. That's the recorder storage area. The contractors got the ceiling removed and they'll start putting up walls here soon. We've also completed our demo for the treasurer's department. We're actually in the process of doing the abatement now. We are scheduled to have a contractors meeting, our first meeting over at the jail for the HVAC project over there. Coincidentally, all four projects are slated to be completed in the May timeframe. So this first few months of the year is going to be very busy, but once we're completed, particularly over at VA Center, then we can get started on the Pinecrest Clinic. That'll be our next step there. So, yeah, a lot of activity. Any questions?
Flooring, flooring issue, is that materials issue or that's contractor?
It's staffing for the contractor. Yes, they've got the material, they've got the equipment here. It's a staffing issue, and we're working with Peters and their superintendents to come up with a resolution. But yes, the whole project is held up just on that entryway going into the new auditor's area. So again, we may just be looking at doing something temporarily just to get them in there.
Yeah, what kind of timeline then?
We've been pushed off 3 times now on this, so yeah, it's getting to a point where it's almost a breach of contract, and we're kind of entertaining that as well. So again, we're going to be looking at some alternatives just to get this moving along.
Can you get back to those?
Yeah, absolutely.
alternatives And get them to
Yeah.
us fairly soon, so,
You bet. Yep.
thanks, I know you're doing everything you can, that's unfortunate.
Any idea what caused the staffing issue? Or perhaps when it began?
The demographics of the staffing for this particular company is fearful
Okay,
to leave their
Gotcha.
their home.
yeah.
That's another option. Contract should have other options.
So that's what I have for projects right now. So if you don't have any other questions, thank you.
A lot of things going on, thanks. Anyone else in the audience? Anyone on Zoom?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Karen's busy working elections today, but she wanted to pass along that Josh Rosendahl was promoted to the position of elections manager in our office. We are excited about the experience Josh brings to this critical role and look forward to seeing his growth. In light of this promotion, we're planning to fill Josh's previous position with the election technician role that was discussed during budget presentations. We hope this will ensure the continued smooth operation of our election-related duties and support the department's ongoing work. So just wanted to pass. We're excited for Josh.
Yeah, we are too. That's great. We'll move on to item 5, minutes approved for January 21st and January 22nd.
So moved. Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, minutes are approved. Item 6, consent agenda. Following items are acted upon by a single resolution unless someone wishes to remove an item for discussion.
So moved. Second?
Roll call vote, as your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item number 7, other business, is a resolution that the change order 04 received from Peters Construction for the multi-department remodel project in the amount of $12,755.69 to cover the finished work around the auditor's office / conference room, including an extension around the column, the move of overhead ductwork, furring of a wall to accommodate the depth of a new electrical panel, running of additional data lines, soundproofing walls, ductwork, and relocation of cameras be approved and the chair sign the same as recommended by the Lori.
So moved. Second?
Yeah, I think the agenda item pretty much sums it up. It's
Says it all.
primarily structural. We did add some additional data drops at the IT department's request, and this is always a good idea when you have walls open to look ahead and cover ourselves in the future. So that did add a little bit of a cost there. But yeah, primarily structural, moving things out of the way so they can get the new items in place. So I did want to point out though, we for this project we had a $30,000 contingency. We have exhausted that contingency. In fact, this particular change order does put us over the contract amount by $3,516.74. It's a little bit concerning knowing that we're going into phase 3 of the Treasurer's Department. It's a fairly straightforward project, but the one part that's a little unique about phase 3 is we are dealing with some restrooms. And anytime that you're dealing with plumbing, particularly plumbing that's behind the wall, unforeseen items, there's always potential for some issues to pop up. But Just so you know, we have exhausted that contingency, and now we're actually looking at increasing the original contract. All right, thank you.
The funds for that are coming from,
So this piece, because it's construction allowance and actually the location, it would be coming out of the replacement revenue pool.
this is a resolution, please answer if your name is called.
Grant,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item B, resolution to approve the request submitted by Andrew Shares to minor plat 1.5 acres land zoned AR Agricultural Residential District to allow for the separation of the home from farmland located at 7031 East Dunkerton Road pursuant to section 354.8 Code of Iowa, and if approved, the county auditor be directed to certify a copy of this resolution for the Blackhawk County Recorder.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Anyone want to comment on this at all? No? I was gonna say it's pretty straightforward. I don't see P and Z here either, or to speak to it, but you probably weren't planning to speak to that one. Okay, it's a resolution. Please answer. Your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item C, motion that the travel request be approved and direct the chair to sign for same. $1,610 for lodging, meals, airfare, and ride share expenses for Al Yu, IT Director, to attend the ESRA Public Sector CIO Summit in Redlands, California, scheduled from March 19, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Morning, Board. LU IT Director. Yes, this is a GIS-focused summit conference meant for public sector IT leaders. Questions I can answer for you guys?
You mentioned it by invitation only?
Correct. I was pleasantly surprised to receive one. So, and the conference is actually free. But I already have a set amount budgeted for travel and conferences with you, so it's budgeted for this one.
How many people are invited to that?
I'm not sure actually, but
First time.
yeah, first time attending it, so kind of cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
This is the motion. If there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item D, an amended travel request that was previously approved by the board on December 10th to include mileage in the amount of $123 be approved and direct the chair to sign the same. I do believe it doesn't mention it was for Justin Grant, so I guess we'll mention that now. Just to include that in the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, was there a second?
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You can.
Can I?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, you can.
Okay.
So we can.
Yeah, all right. Yes, aye.
Opposed? No. So, motion passes. Item E is to approve the training request for Joseph Mueller, financial analyst, to attend Accounting for Capital Assets course sponsored by the Government Finance Officers Association, January 30th and 31st, as submitted by Michelle Weidner, Finance Director.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Michelle, did you want to comment on this at all? We talked
Sure.
about being kind of unique for us, so.
Yeah, we are kind of wading into uncharted territories from the board office, because we haven't had an employee before that's in that position. This is a virtual class regarding capital assets, which Joe worked a lot with in the audit last year, and this will just give him a great base to help as we move forward with that. It's only 4 hours a day, so while it says, 2 days, it's 4 hours each day, and GFOA has very good classes it'll be very appropriate to his work here.
Any
Did-
questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, as far as like, and I meant to ask you this before, just kind of get a better grip on things here. Like a staffing contingency plan, like, would Joe be considered kind of second in line with you?
Well, yes, hopefully he's going to work into that. He's, only been here a few months at this
Right.
point, so it would be a little early for that, but yes, that's the long-term goal. Is
But
it
this
might
would
be
help
that.
establish that
Absolutely.
base for him.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
There is a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 8, work session. discussion and consideration of all aspects of the fiscal year 26 Blackhawk County budget. And Michelle, we're gonna start with the difference in the
Yes, I
changes.
thought Eric Schrader from planning was going to be here, but he's not here yet, so I think we go ahead with the treasurer, and if he arrives after that, we'll try to slide them in, after that.
That's good. Treasurer's ready, then great.
We're ready for Linda and Billy, although it might take me just a minute here.
Me asking a bunch of questions over this one.
Let me know when you share, Michelle.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. I think we're ready. All right. Got a new item today, I think.
You said you're ready?
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Well, good morning, Board. Linda Hinsman, Treasurer, Blackhawk County. And first off, I think she has displayed is my purpose statement, which I'm not gonna read any of that. I do have some like new statistics to add to what I previously had last year. So this year, we mailed out for the senior disabled property tax credits. This year, we actually mailed out 500, so it kind of has been steadily increasing for the individuals in Blackhawk County that are lower income to qualify for some type of help. Our real estate tax statements this year, we mailed out 70,173 of those. That does also include its real estate and our mobile home combined. And then our titles that we transferred were 38,090. So that's kind of steadily been somewhat increasing along the way with the changes. This year, our tax sale bidders, we had 3,203 bidders at our annual tax sale. We offered 1,132 parcels that were in delinquent taxes at that time. Of those 1,132 parcels, we had 122 of those that did not get picked up at our annual tax sale. And I should also let you know that our annual tax sale does benefit Blackhawk County, so those are just delinquent taxes that are out there. The tax buyers come in and they pay on behalf of that property owner, which helps fund Blackhawk County so that we can continue to distribute monies to all of our entities on track like we've been planning. Our fall delinquent notices that we mailed out were 3,261. And then kind of our fun fact right now is we've been using our, it's called No Wait Inside, which is our, basically our kiosk system that's helping us navigate our customers coming in. So we moved down on January 8th downstairs to our temporary location. We picked up service right away on the morning of January 9th. Also want to, I guess, bringing that up, that we have some wonderful staff here in Blackhawk County. There are so many people in this building that helped us with our move. Maintenance stepped up front and helped us with things. IT's been wonderful. Brian has offered us an office in his area so that we can have our accounting person back in there. But our fun fact with using our No Wait Inside is our walk-in kiosk. It's been kind of fun to see. We've had a low of 168 of traffic coming in per day, and we've had a high of 327 since we've been utilizing this kiosk numbering system, so that's kind of been our fun fact.
I've talked to several of the people after their experience of coming down in there, and they've all been very positive.
For
about how they
using
help.
it?
Yeah.
For using
Well, not
this,
just the kiosk, just your services, I think, in that small area.
everything in general.
Everything's working really well. And
It is working very well. It's actually helped keep the customers out of the room where the staff is. So it's been very nice to have a waiting area. And then once the staff is ready for that customer, they were able to call them in one at a time and assist them with everything. So
The chairs probably help too. so
The chairs
that's
help,
good.
yeah.
That's great.
Yep, it's been a great thing so far. Still learning, navigating, and working out some bugs on it.
Hey, Linda, newbie question here.
Sure.
Real estate tax statements mailed, seems pretty self-explanatory. Is that 70,173, that's the number of parcels
That's
in the
the
county?
number of actual statements that we mailed out.
Yeah. Which would reflect each,
Yes, but we do have some that are gonna have more than one parcel, so those statements, those
Okay.
parcels could be included in that one statement that we mailed out.
okay, gotcha, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. On to the budget part. This is the fun stuff. Okay, so now leading to our fiscal year 26 budget. We've not really made too many changes to our fiscal year 26 budget. To start out with, you'll see our tax sale fees show a decrease in what we're actually bringing in for revenue. This is due to our office becoming more efficient in the ways we process our tax sales. Previously, we've been charging each private buyer for our tax sales, we've been charging them a fee of $50 to sign up. Moving forward, we'll be changing that fee down to a $30 fee instead of the 50. Per Iowa code, we are not to show a profit when we're holding our tax sale. And I feel since we've become so efficient with how we process our tax sales, not just for that particular day, but throughout the whole year with our tax sale processes, that we need to be decreasing what we're showing in for our revenue on that one. So that's a little bit of a change for us. On a positive end, we show an increase. We show an increase for our auto registration fees. That's showing an increase of 46.26%. Our big increase is in our auto new registration fees. We had auto increases. It was changes to Iowa Code 321, and it was started January 1st of 2025. And they call it any county titling started. With this change, transactions can be performed in any county in the state of Iowa except for vehicle renewals. Vehicle renewals will always need to be renewed in the county that you reside in, but every other fee that is offered for your vehicle can be done in any county in the state of Iowa. With this change, an additional $10 has been applied to service we provide, such as the initial title fee, security interest, replacement titles, and fees for new registrations. With this change, we are projecting an increase in our auto revenues. So we kind of see throughout this year what changes that brings. I'm pretty sure at this point we're already seeing an increase since January 1st of what we're already generating in for our revenues. And then I'm gonna jump down to our violation of fines. We show a decrease of 90% on that. That one is due to our parking violations. We show as a decrease in revenues, and that's basically due to not very many parking tickets being written in our county parking lot. Used to be at one time we had many tickets that came our direction, and we collected those on behalf of Blackhawk County, and that kind of helped with our revenues, but not really sure as for why, but not very many tickets are being written anymore, so we have decreased on what we're expecting for any type of revenue on that one. And then, I don't know if there is really any other big changes for us. We actually, the office runs really pretty lean. I've also been working with Amanda in HR to expand our motor vehicle title and registration technician from a technician, just a regular straight technician, to a technician 1 and number 2. This will not only allow us to have steps in the position, but give the motor vehicle and operations manager a technician who can work more closely with our bureau of investigators in providing paperwork and files they need to further along the investigations, which that is also becoming more. Fraudulent activities seem to be on a rise. Anything and everything they can think of to do to try to title fraudulent vehicles is becoming more. With this position, this would be a step 2, would be a 5% increase. And I've also checked with Michelle regarding my budget, and she had stated as of 12/31/24, the office salaries were under budget. If approved, I would like to have this change take effect just as soon as we can, get the rest of the process done. So I'm asking of this.
So it's not an additional staff, it's just a change in.
It's just a change. Right now, we currently have 2 in that same position. But I have one that's got more experience, works more closely with the, our investigators and so on, versus our newer tech that I have. This will just kind of help stagger the duties maybe a little bit more and make one of the techs work more closely with the motor vehicle supervisor. Which at this point, I do still have 2 positions that are open in my office. That was per request of her fiscal budget of 25. At that point was asked if I could. So I do still have an accounting position open, and I do still have an office specialist. I've not pursued any of those. Lack of space right now. Would prefer not to have any more bodies sitting on top of each other than what we need. And then just kind of going back to, as a kind of finalizing my budget, just kind of wanted to go back to our no wait to the public. I touched on it by having each walk in, walk in and get a number and wait to be called to the window. This has helped staff navigate the flow of customers coming in. Using this system has enabled us to streamline the customers and allow staff to not only have those being helped sitting in front of them. Gabby has also been a great help with setting up our webpage that for taking appointments. For the appointments part, she does have that set up online. Of course, now we've not pushed that feature just yet. We're still trying to make sure we're understanding and get the bugs worked out with just our walk-ins, and then eventually we will push that they can make appointments online as well as walk-ins, so that we're making sure we're helping every group of Blackhawk County. I think that's pretty much all I have, unless there are any questions or.
I had a question on just the estimate on the interest from investments. Just how confident do you feel like that's where it's at, or because I see that the actuals are a little bit higher than was last year, and I know that big payments will be coming out, there'll be less generating, but I'm wondering if it still might be a little bit higher than what it's estimated at. It's just hard.
I will defer to one of you two, but that's, if your crystal ball's better than ours, we want to know.
And that's really what it is. We don't know what's gonna happen, but the interest rates are starting to go down. I've noticed we sent out CD bids this morning, and they're lower than the last time that we did bids. So, part of the calculation is those CDs that are coming up very quickly, and then there's ones that are the long term that are, gonna be lower. So, I wish I had a better answer than that. I just look back at years before as well, and I know right now, what we budgeted, we ended up getting a lot more than what we budgeted for the last year. So the interest rates did go down, like we predicted at that time.
I think as
So
Billy
that's
and
what
I
we
looked
worked
at
with.
that, rates had fallen at least 20% in the first 6 months of this year. We believe they're likely to continue to drop. And we also know, as Rory shared earlier, we've got a lot of construction projects going on that are going to start draining the ARPA pool. Now, there's still lots of other cash that we earn interest on, but, yeah, it's hard to guess. It could be more, depending on what happens in the economy, it potentially could be less. But, yeah, we spent quite a bit of time kind of
Yeah.
looking at the model that the treasurer's office uses to calculate that to understand it, I guess, so.
We kind of estimated maybe what the balances would be with the ARPA projects being completed, and it ended up being about what we had calculated, so we just left it the same.
Thank you.
I would ask this later, but I learned so quickly that I will forget if I don't ask now. So where does that interest on investments go? Like what pools or what accounts?
Oh, like the breakdown of?
Yeah.
So we have some in CDs, we have some in money markets.
Yeah.
We have our checking accounts. We also invest in iGate as well. And those are that's where we have for the breakdown of what we invest our money in.
Okay. Does it end up going into the general fund then?
Excuse me. So, a lot of it does go to the general fund, but there are some funds that are allowed to have interest. So the Code of Iowa will, state what funds can actually get interest. So like our lost fund gets interest.
Okay.
Predominantly, it's the general fund.
Okay.
And
Yes.
the revenue that you're seeing here is only the general
Is only
fund.
the general.
Okay, gotcha.
And so anything that's for bond funds, those are actually invested in IP, and those stay with those bond funds. So the debt service funds, the 200 funds, and then there's the 300 funds, those get combined.
Okay.
So those are in IP. So those are strictly in those funds. There's some IP that's invested in the general fund as well.
Okay. Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think what I would like to share is when you look at the bottom line in the treasurer's office, really having an amazing year. This is an unusual circumstance that with the state law change, the auto registration revenue, we're projecting a significant increase. Also, another thing that is pretty unusual as we work through budgets, their salary expense is actually down a tick, and that is primarily due to turnover in their office, having really people with seniority retiring, and we're starting with newer. So those are two things that I don't get to see very often, and I find that that's a good thing when we're talking about the budget, so I'm excited about that. Able to keep their operating expenses static, even with adding the new software that's going to help so much with people waiting to use their services. And so they are going to help tremendously with filling our gap in what we can't do with property tax, so.
That's why I was looking for some more on the interest.
I know, and Billy and I spent quite a bit of time talking that through. And I will say, based on what Rory said earlier, we might be spending money sooner than I expected to with the ARPA dollars, so that there's just a lot of factors in there.
It's an unusual name for an account, but the insufficiencies, what is that used for? I see it's reduced. No, kind of zeroed out almost. It was $400, but I just thought I was curious what's in that category.
I know there was a few accounts when we were going through, there was a few accounts we actually moved to a different one along the way, going, this is confusing, why do we have these? And I'm not sure if that was one of them.
I'm gonna guess that's bad checks, probably insufficient
It could be.
funds, but it is a guess.
Well, and it seems like we went back and we didn't see any activity for a while in that. And then also, we looked at the detail in each one of those accounts. And then we came up with kind of this is where we're gonna put envelopes for this. This is what we're gonna do. So in doing that, we kind of cleaned up, for lack of a better term, put things in for budgeting, just so it's easier when we go to pay those bills, to know envelopes go here. Like notary fees, I think we moved that as well, instead of under one of them, it ended up going up to dues and memberships. So some of that you're seeing, the ups and downs, it's just because That's why we moved it from another line so that it's more in line with what it really is going
Just
forward.
redistributed. Kept it, but.
It's cleaning up how it's always been, but, okay, it's time, let's reduce some of these categories so it's less confusing.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to clarify real quick, going back to, the motor vehicle title and registration tax. We're looking to add one, or not add, but, got a job change, right?
Yep,
With a 5%.
I'm just asking to change, the two texts are equal right now, I'm just asking to have a division and have a 1 and 2,
Okay,
one go up 5%.
okay, that's what I had to do,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
cool, thank you.
And that is provided for in the budgetary numbers that you have today.
That just kind of keeps it cleaner
Yeah.
in our office on whose duties or who's doing what.
Did you punch that button?
Which one?
I don't know. The button that shares my screen.
Got it?
I was hoping they showed you. I need a minute to set up here. We will do planning next in just a minute. I'm gonna load several things here, so it will be quicker going forward. All right. I think we're ready. So Eric, if you want to step up, and Al or one if you want the share button again. Or me, then we might be ready.
Morning, Board. Eric Schrader, I'm the city planner for the city of Waterloo. The city of Waterloo contracts with Blackhawk County to provide planning and zoning services, building inspection services, code enforcement services, and then the engineering department, City of Waterloo Engineering Department does E911 address issuance. So the proposed budget before you for all of that is pretty static. It's showing a slight increase in revenue and no change in expenses, and we think that looks good. In the previous discussion, we kind of talked about a crystal ball. The same thing kind of applies here. But generally speaking, we try and keep this a revenue neutral thing or even revenue generator for Blackhawk County. We try and have the building permits and the other revenue sources to match or exceed the expenses, and we've generally hit that. And the thing to keep in mind that as demand for zoning and building services increase, our expenses might increase, but then generally speaking, our revenues increase as well. So, you know, looking back at the 2024 numbers, we were a little lower in expenses, but again, I think, you know, that's partially demand, might be partially we had some personnel turnover during 2024 as well. So, you know, 2023 had expenses pretty much really close to right on budget, and the revenues that match that. So we weren't showing, you know, any negative revenues below the expenses. So we think we're pretty much right on par. I guess I would open it up to any questions you have.
I think it works out well for us.
Try and keep it very neutral or revenue positive for the county.
You have some new staff, I think, that we're gonna be meeting, I guess, to work with us, or is that?
Yes.
soon?
Yes, so historically, the county has appointed one of our staff as the zoning administrator for zoning stuff, so we do anticipate that here in the near future, we'll be looking to have you designate that.
And we need to appoint a P and Z board member too, or commission member, so.
Yeah, I think we're still short
At the end of
one
the
P and
meeting.
Z, or I think we might be short one board adjustment member yet too.
I think that one's still open, but I think, yeah. Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Now we're gonna have a really short department presentation.
Thank you for having Brian go after me and suffer through this.
Nobody's gonna go before Brian? You're tied together somewhat though, right?
All right, thank you. I'm Rory Giving, Facilities Director. You'll see up here is our purpose. I guess I want to start off by saying, I do have the privilege of overseeing a great staff. Our staff really cares, and I think that's evident. I think most departments would probably agree with me that we have wonderful staff here, both out in the field, in the office. Anybody that spends a little time with us down in the office is going to pick up pretty quickly that there's a lot of moving parts, and everybody does a very good job at what they do. So our mission, this actually used to be a mission statement, but then once we started strategic planning, I changed it to the purpose, so not to conflict with our mission statement development. So obviously our goal here is really to provide an environment that's safe, pleasant, and functional for everybody, for the staff and for the public. I got a listing of the different facilities that we do oversee. Some of the functions that may not get highlighted very often, as the city just mentioned, code enforcement. Our department is kind of the middle person for that, so any code enforcement complaints that do come through, they come through our department, and then we work closely with the city of Waterloo to make sure that gets addressed. So, and then the rest of it's pretty clearly stated. We do have a staff of 10, including myself. You'll see the statistics, the square footage, over 1 million square feet. Buildings alone, we're at approximately 371,000. We've also included our parking, our solar field, our flood buyout properties that we try to get as many of those leased out as possible. If they don't end up leasing, then those are properties that my staff has to maintain. So the goal is to try to get those leased out if possible. But that's the total square footage that the county is responsible for. So with that, go to our operating. So with our revenues in our department, it's revenues, but really it's reimbursables for us, and it's very fluid. We get a reimbursement from the Health and Human Services over at the Pinecrest facility. Those include approximately 54% of our expenses that go into that building. For an example, it could be utilities, it could be our maintenance staff. Sometimes it's even amortized out if there's a large project that we can get. So really, it's in the revenue section, but it's really just us getting reimbursed for those services. You can see that there is a significant change in that to the tune of about 45,000, a little over 45,000. Looking back at last year, we had a very dry summer, so our cost or our time spent taking care of that property was down just a bit. We had a low snow accumulation year, so there again, that reflects in our operating cost for that facility. One thing that we did last year that did affect us this year is I was optimistic that we could really get a handle on tracking our amount of maintenance with regards to staffing. So we have one staff that's designated for that building, but the tracking point comes in if there's additional staff that need to come over and do or assist or help or whatever. And really tracking those hours so we can get those hours turned back over to HHS and get that reimbursed to us. Now with the addition of an administrative person in our office, Connie, we are still optimistic that we're going to get a better grip on that. And so we kept our anticipated revenue. We did drop it down to better reflect what 23, 24 actuals were, but we did bump it up just a bit higher to hopefully be able to meet that this coming year. So I know that's a lot of discussion on that one line item, but any questions on that, on how that works? Okay. So as a result of that, our revenue's down 18%. Flipping over to operating expenses. Looking at, for an example, 366 motor vehicle parts and labor, we did bump that up slightly. Although we are looking at cycling through our vehicles, so we anticipate that to go down. But we have had a couple of heavy years with repairs, just keeping the vehicles that we do have on the road. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward in the capital request. Our vehicles are low mileage, but very heavy use, or hard use, I should say. 0553 was another significant change. That was just moving that line item around within the operating budget, and that's kind of been the same theme across all the departments. So that shows that $12,000 increase, but it's actually just been realigned to another line item, which is under license and permits.
Is there a particular cost, Roy? Is it a particular cost that's been redesignated then? When you say it's a crossed off?
Not a particular cost, it's just a particular types of purchases. We're just recoding it differently under a different line item.
For audit purposes, there's some extra work that we're required to do now for software, and it's, we previously at the county tended to find that in lots of different expense accounts, so it was a difficult project for us. So I'm trying to get it pretty much corralled in the software line item, makes it much more efficient for us to do the work we have to do for the audit.
The other one that's a large one for us is professional services, and that really covers quite a bit. That covers our janitorial out service, that covers any HVAC contracts we might have, generator inspection contracts that we might have, elevator, shredding services, fire extinguisher, sprinkler inspections. So that's kind of the catch-all for all those types of activities that we're required to do to keep our buildings functional. So that stayed fairly neutral. Mechanical equipment repair, we bumped that up by $700. We're just noticing some equipment has just gone up in price. So that's just, it's not a huge amount, but we, looking back and comparing it back to 23, 24, we felt that would get us more in line with where we're actually at. Utilities. So we ended up with our operating expense, or our total operating revenue at 5.55% increase. Really what's driving that is our utilities. Every year we try to bump that utility up just a little bit. It is, historically, this particular area that we're in has been historically lower than most areas that are covered. But they have, Mid-American has started a rate equalization program, and that's started a few years back. So we are starting to see those rates get a little bit more in line with other areas within the state of Iowa. And so to cover that and ourselves for unexpecteds, a hard winter or what have you, or a hot summer, we feel it's safe to go ahead and add that increase on the utilities just to cover ourselves. So all in all, yes, we're looking at an increase of about $100,000 in our operating budget. Last year, the increase was around 85,000, I believe. Any questions on that?
Okay, I was just gonna ask you about fuels and lubricants. What all does that include? I'm tempted to assume diesel, gas, et cetera.
Yeah, so our generator diesel. So we have a generator over at the jail. We have one here at the courthouse, and we have one at Pinecrest. We do run those. I believe they're monthly. The jail might actually be weekly, and so even if we're not in a situation where we need to run those generators, we still run them. So we go through some diesel on that, and then just our fuel for our pickups, our fleet.
I was just wondering, like, with the lower expected cost, with fuel continually rising in cost, the last few years, I would expect that to be higher for the draft for 26.
Left it at the budgeted amount for 25, but it's very low year to.
It is, and we've had a light, and partly due to last year, we did have a light winter. So far this year, we've had a pretty light winter. We could look at adjusting that to be more in line with 23, 24, but I think that was the driving focus there was really, where are we at currently? And, currently we're only at about $2,700. So that's how we came up with that. We could write it out this year, see if that's a good decision or not, see what happens, but that was the logic behind that.
I trust you.
Yeah, so.
You know better than me.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
That we can make that.
Any kind of an update when looking at utilities on solar? Thoughts or your feelings on impact on us in the future, or when we'll see some?
Yeah, so, with our solar array system over at Pinecrest, we're neutral at the Pinecrest facility. In fact, our electrical utility bill is $10 a month for that whole facility. It's just unbelievable. So every April, they reconcile that account. So any energy that we produce off that system goes into a bank, and then as we use energy, it draws off of that bank. The first couple of years, we did have some issues that we had to work through with some inverters, some banks that we had some issues with, but here this last year, it's been solid. The system's been up and running and been working perfectly. So we've been able to build that bank up. So in April, what happens is Mid-American looks at that. We get a percentage of that excess energy back, and then a percentage goes to a charity of their choosing. And that's actually written in the utility tariff, so that's how it has to be. So right now, that's self-sufficient, and our yearly utility bill is $120 for electric. So that project, I don't have it in front of me, but if I'm not mistaken, it was about 11 and a half year payback. So we're already into it 3 years, I believe. 3.
I wonder if we could get kind of an update when you've got, I know you've got a lot of things going on, but an update on where we are with the payoff on that. But, the utility rates are going up and stuff, so it might be that we're, taking a few.
That 11 and a half year might be a little different
Right.
now. That with the utility rates that go up, it's only going to improve that payback number. So yeah, I can certainly put that together. And we're going to talk a little bit as we go through capitals. We're going to talk about solar for the new VA center as well, and we put together some paybacks expectations on that as well. Any more questions on the operating? Okay. Got just a few slides to go through here on capital. Did I just hit the podium?
No changes with staffing,
Pardon me?
no changes in staffing.
No, we are at, we're at 10 bodies with myself, so we're positioned pretty well. We've got our maintenance assistant on board now, and every day he's getting more familiar with the facilities, and yeah, we have a very solid staff right now, so I'm pretty proud of that. So I put budget request, capital, and miscellaneous because there are a couple of items on here that I don't know if it necessarily falls under CIP, but more maybe a discussion. So our Sycamore shop. So this was purchased, as you know, is the former Raymount towing facility. We purchased this facility, I want to say, for just a little over $300,000. Prior to that, we did have a study performed, an inspection study that gave us a full report of some of the deficiencies in this building. And so what this request is for is addressing those deficiencies. The electrical in that building is an absolute mess, so this would be a complete tear out, all new electric, getting it up to current codes. It would be replacing overhead doors along with the operators. Currently it has overhead doors but no operators. We would be actually eliminating the HVAC furnaces that are in this facility. There's 2 of them currently, and they're probably 1980s vintage. There's a brick chimney that would also get removed, and those furnaces would be removed, and we put suspended heaters, natural gas heaters, in there just to keep it at a minimum temperature. Just bumping back a little bit, this building primarily, what we want to use it for is storing our equipment and our vehicles. Right now, that is the objective, is to get all of our vehicles inside, our plows, our sanders, and we're actually we're going to be sharing that with the engineering department as well, for their vehicles. Structural repairs, there are several. With the we have a couple of walls that need to get corrected. They're actually got some pretty severe cracking in the masonry block. We have a couple support beams that just need to get taken down and replaced. This is essentially covering every item that was noted in that inspection report that we had performed prior to buying it. Burglar alarm, fire alarm system, surveillance cameras. I'm looking at putting 3 cameras over there. Been working with IT, and we feel we've got a good resolution to make that happen. And then the sprinkler system, which we were a bit on the fence with that. The sprinkler system is required if we plan on storing equipment that's got a gross vehicle weight of over 10,000 pounds. That puts us, our sanders in that category. And so by doing this sprinkler system, this building then would be set up for any type of use that we decide to use down the road. So at the time, we had an estimate of 300,000, and you can see that we were very close to that mark. These are actual proposals from contractors that we've got for these. So this is not me just guesstimating some numbers. These are actual proposals. So
That's good, because that was gonna be one of my questions, if they were revised, or if these were the same ones that we initially kind of did.
yeah,
How about the cameras on there, is that for the entire building then, or just for the shop?
that is actually going to take the Sycamore shop and then also the elections. And we have 1 camera that's located in the juvenile detention center. And then we have 1 camera that's pointed out towards the employee parking lot. We wouldn't necessarily have to, but I included the JCS and the parking lot because it can get tied into our existing system here at the courthouse. Whereas that system right now is a standalone system, and we physically have to go over there to pull up footage. So with this system, it'd bring it into our server here at the courthouse, and we'd be able to see that footage from here.
Sure, it's a rounded kind of roof.
It's a barreled
Yeah.
Roof.
I was wondering if that is conducive or possible with solar.
You know, that's a good question. I think with some kind of ingenuity and mounting, you know, there could very well be a possibility. It's something that I have not looked into yet, because we are lane locked. So yeah, the roof would be it. But no, that's something we can definitely look at.
How much of the space are we using now? I knew there were some restrictions on things we could do until we did some of these.
Very little. We have our pickups. We have a few pickups in there. We have our plows and our sanders in there. But we have room. You know, I know that the engineering department has a lab that they would like to be able to put in there, so it would make it easier for those folks that are here at the courthouse to be able to walk across and use that lab. So there's some usage that it's been kind of talked about between departments.
I was just wondering, I knew, well, you've got a lot on your plate anyway, but I was just thinking the sooner we could put this building, I mean, since we purchased it and went through quite a bit.
Yeah.
To get it finally, if we could put it into use sooner, but I know that's moving parts too. That's what you're working on.
Yeah, it's serving a function right now. It's, like I said, it's keeping our equipment from being outside. Granted, we had the building over on Union, the former election shop, where we were able to utilize that, but it just wasn't conducive being across town. So this obviously is so much nicer. We'll talk about another request here as we go, but we have a UTV too that we're able to keep indoors now, where previously we had to park that outside. So it is serving. It's going to be a good benefit moving forward.
If we get rid of that building too, it's a possibility, and we could utilize some of that funding toward this or something too.
Yeah.
We auction it.
One on Union.
And we get for it, obviously not quite that much. That is something the board needs to decide what we want to do and take next steps.
Yep.
On that facility.
Absolutely. Yeah, that building is completely empty now on Union Road. So yeah, we are at that point where, you know, that's probably going to need some discussions.
Because we are having to pay for something right now.
Yeah, there's a utility fee
Yeah.
that I believe Kathy's paying for.
$47.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. ADA service counters. This is essentially to get the assessors, the recorders, and our clerk of court counters consistent with what we did with the elections and the auditors. That's currently what we have. That's our new counters. You can see it's got the marble top and the section for the ADA compliance. This is an item we've talked about for a couple of years. Now that we've actually got one completed and a visual, I felt it was appropriate to get this on the request for next year. Any questions on that?
So the 275,000 is just for those three.
Yeah, the assessors actually will have two openings, but one ADA section. The recorders will have one. The clerk of courts will have one up on third floor and then one on first floor.
Were those updated with ARPA funds? And Michelle, I apologize because I know you sent me the list, so my fault for not getting a chance to look into that yet.
They are, the ones that are done, we were fortunate to be able to use the ARPA funds to do that. Some of it, actually, both of the ones that are done have been done with the replacement revenue pool.
Yeah. Okay, this is the, so over at Pinecrest, we have two elevators. We have a traction elevator and a hydraulic elevator. This is a hydraulic elevator that was taken out of service, I want to say back in 2020. for repairs. At that time, we brought it to we went out and we did a survey with the staff over there at the Pinecrest facility. We brought it to the board and we had two options, to either mothball it or to spend, at that time, I believe it was $54,000 to put it back into service. There is some discussion that went back and forth, and at that time, it kind of got tabled. I wanted to bring it back this year because I believe that we have some really good supporting needs to move forward and get this elevator back up into service. And the main one is number one there, the relocation of Health and Human Services up on the second floor. Currently, they're in the main lobby, they're on the first floor. With the new remodel, the new clinic, and moving the health department, they're going to get pushed up to the second floor. This particular elevator would actually open up right into their new lobby area. So that's one very good benefit by investing into this elevator and getting it back into service. And in speaking with our elevator inspection company, the cost that I have on this would actually repair and get it up to current code, which is a big deal because elevator codes change quite frequently, and we were a little nervous that we may have missed the opportunity to even get it repaired, but we didn't. We still have that opportunity to get it back into service at about the same price as we were quoted back in 2020. The other reason, number two, backup during the event at the main elevator were to go down, it would serve as a backup. It enhance safety and separation in the event of another pandemic. It would just give people another option to separate throughout that building. Total cost, $52,500. This is an actual proposal number, so this is, I would feel pretty safe. So, any questions on that? Just for your information, if you were to choose to not go with this, there still would be a cost just to completely take it out of service, and that would be decommissioning the mechanical room. Would be in the neighborhood of about $5,000.
And we have to do that, and like, we make the decision to not do this, go forward like for this year or whatever.
There's going to be a time, fortunately it hasn't been enforced on us yet, but there will be a time that the state will force us to do something, either repair or put it permanently out of service. All right, the solar field, as you know, when we were looking at the Veterans Affairs project, within that proposal, we had an alternative for a new solar system, but if you recall, there was some guesswork as to what the utility usage was going to be in that facility. Since then, we have worked with Mid-American, and we've shared with them the equipment that we're going to be placing in that facility. They came through, did an audit, came up with a baseline, and came up with the 61 kW. I believe before we were at like 100 and a little over 100 kW. If you remember, that was almost $400,000. Mid-American allows us to design it at 110%. Given that we don't have any actual utility information, we feel that it would be in our best interest if the board does approve this to go with that 110% mark of what we think it's going to be to cover ourselves. So it would actually be a 68 kW system. This facility is 100% electric. There is no natural gas in the new VA center, so it will be all electric. The solar arrays would be, return on investment on this particular one, 13.8 years. Life, 25. So what happens with solar arrays, is after 25 years, they actually start degrading. They don't just fail altogether, but they will start degrading in their production. So that's where that 40-year, from 25 to 40 years, they really expect these to last 40, but by the time it hits 40, it's going to probably be substantially degraded to a point it'll have to be replaced. So that's kind of how they came up with that. It's alignment with our goals. I know we're currently working on a new vision, new mission statement, but I have a hunch that energy is going to probably be a topic of even our new mission and our new goals, so kind of lines us with that. This is just a breakout of over here on the left-hand side. It will show the 13.8-year payback. I did not include the 52,632 incentive because I can't be assured that it's going to be there. So for budget purposes, shoot, how do I go back? So my total cost came in at 200,000, and I just made the assumption that there's a possibility that 30% won't be available. If the 30% is available, then we could knock off that $53,000 off that project.
Sorry, is it two questions? One, is there a fence planned around these, or
I factored
or is it possible to get these within the already fenced-in area?
I factored in a fence to basically extend off of the existing fence that's there and then square everything off. There will be, I will have a fence in between the two, but it'll all be fenced off.
Okay.
So we did put in 14,000 for a fence, which is included on that, within that 200,000.
Would that be a 6 foot, or?
Yes, I believe they are 6 foot. Yep. It'd be just like what's there now. It's a black fence.
Okay.
Now, one thing to keep in mind, just like the other solar project, we did have to go to a order of adjustments. Notifications were sent out to the surrounding neighbors to give them an opportunity to voice their opinion on this new solar array system. That's something we would have to do again for this one. And then this is just some environmental impacts. Some of you might be familiar with this, but this is the offset of CO2. They're saying it would be the equivalent to 42,000 trees planted, and I won't go through each one, but as you can see, there's a pretty substantial environmental impact.
One other thing, with hail damage, is that even a factor with these? And if they do get broken, what's that do to the grid that it's supporting?
If it's suffered hail damage, that would be something that we would have to cover to get it fixed. And I know our deductible, I guess it depended on how severe the damage was, but it would go under our insurance. I can't remember where we're at on the
75,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty high deductible, so that would be on our dime essentially to repair those. They're pretty robust. I mean, we haven't had anything. The only issue we had, so there's 7 sites that we put solar on between Pinecrest, Secondary Roads, and Conservation. Conservation, it wasn't soon after that system got installed. We had some heavy winds. It ended up, it was an anchoring issue, and so the company did come back and they covered the cost to correct that. So that happened over at the conservation headquarters. But outside of that, we did opt for a 25-year warranty on the inverters. The inverters traditionally are the pieces of equipment that usually run into problems with. That's actually converting that energy. So for the last project, we did purchase a 20-year warranty, and we've actually had to use that a couple of times at the Pinecrest site. So that has paid off.
Yeah, I'd like to, tour, see where all those, solar sites are.
Yeah, I'd be glad to take you out there and show you, yeah. The only thing, you know, working with conservation, they've been a great help with the prairie grass. That's actually, the existing, solar field is prairie. It was planted by conservation. It's a, pollinator? Pollinator, yes. And I believe it's actually designated in some program that conservation works with as a pollinator area. So we would probably keep in line with that.
Just anecdotally, someone that lives in that neighborhood and gardens and has my own pollinator area, I think it feels like I've noticed an increase just in the neighborhood, so I'm getting more tomatoes because of.
Well, that's good. Not only are we getting energy, we're getting better tomatoes. Over at the jail, back in 2018, I put 6 cabinets in the pod areas, and they're 12-gauge steel cabinets. The previous cabinets were particle board. The doors were falling off. It was a nightmare. Potentially, it was a liability waiting to happen because an inmate could grab a door, bust it off, and use it as a weapon. So we put in these really big, heavy-duty sink cabinets, and but what we didn't factor in was the cleaning chemicals and the hand soap. Apparently, in 12-gauge steel, just did not. We even put epoxy coating on this, and it still ate through. So believe it or not, all of these sinks are looking like this. So what I did is I reached out to a company and got an actual quote to make a Corian countertop shell to go over top of that. So we would pull the sinks off, put the Corian shell on, put the sink back in. And that was at $12,000. Pretty straightforward. Any questions on that? Okay. IT department. This is relocating the IT department over to the northwest section of the building. Currently, we're on our way with putting in the new server room, as I mentioned earlier. This new IT department would essentially wrap around the server room, taking advantage of the exterior windows. So if you can imagine what my vision is looking at, say, the county or the elections department, how they have the glass fronts and then the windows in the back, letting the natural light come through. That's essentially what I would be looking at proposing. We're at $455,000 for that project. Used a couple different factors there. I used just cost of construction per square feet. I did reach out to Envision Architect. We had some conversation back and forth about that project. And I also utilized the space assessment that we did a few years back. I think I had a picture. Yeah, here we go. So right here is the new server room area, which is on its way now. So the proposal would be to open this all up. This is the existing MIS room. That would be opened up and offices put in place, wrapping around the corner, utilizing the outside windows for natural light, having a common meeting area, a receptionist desk, and some storage.
No questions here.
Then, the next would be looking at the northeast area, and that would be the Board of Supervisors office and the former IT department. Keep in mind, we do have $100,000 actually budgeted in this year's budget for design. So that's something from now until July 1, we do need to if this is something we want to move forward with, we do need to get that design process in place and that wheel turning, and decide how to best utilize that space. Just going off sheer square footage, the nature of the project, we were at $1 million. I dropped it down to 900 because we've already had the 100,000 budgeted for design services. So, any questions on that?
Any thoughts yourself on that?
Pardon me?
Any thoughts that you have on that?
I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but I'm afraid Brian will kill me if I stand up here and share them all.
Maybe maybe
No.
you have some special sessions or something.
I- Yeah, I feel comfortable with the dollar amount that we put out there based on all the projects that we're currently doing right now. So that's the beauty of it, is we've got a pretty good baseline going, and so I feel pretty comfortable with that. And I feel with that dollar amount, we can get pretty creative in how we design that space. I guess what I would like to see is, again, utilize the windows and really open it up and harvest that daylight. It's only going to save energy down the road, and that's just helps meet energy code as well. So that's what I can visualize, is just really trying to utilize that, get it more opened up, put a nice conference space in there, maybe a nicer lobby area compared to what we have right now. It's a bit congested, but it's temporary, hopefully. But really just streamline that a little better, utilizing our window space that we have.
Yeah, we're not really designed as a customer-friendly area
Yeah.
right now. So.
And security too. That's another thing we'd look at is, would we look at more of a service counter type atmosphere, like the rest of the departments have. So I think there's a lot of things to consider there.
Would that be contingent with the IT changes over there?
Yes.
So it would have to be done if IT was.
Yep, they work together.
Timing-wise, on the timing project, but that part would have to move over before we could do the other.
We can start the design process this year, but yes, the IT would physically have to be relocated to get that other one going.
I mean, where's that funding come from? To do this and.
That has to be determined yet.
Okay.
It would either be reserves or bond issue, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is our HVAC direct digital control modernization. I know that's kind of wordy, but originally when we were looking at ARPA, our goal was to try to get the three big facilities addressed under ARPA with HVAC related projects. We started diving in and realized that the jail was a much bigger animal than we originally anticipated, as well as Pinecrest. And so those funds were already committed to the jail and Pinecrest. So now what I'm asking for is to look at the courthouse in phases. And so this would essentially be our first phase to get our HVAC control system to a fully digital system. Right now, it's a hybrid system. We have pneumatics that control, which means we have to have a compressor running to control those actuators. And then part of the building, such as fourth floor, because that's been remodeled, since the jail moved out of there, that already has digital controls. So what this focuses on is the head end system. So it'd be more of the brains that we utilize in our office, the controller that communicates with all the field devices. So this really sets us up for then the next phase. And I don't have that phase put together, but that will be a phase that we'd be working on for FY27. Any questions on that? Landscaping. This was a request last year that we take a look. I know that last year we talked about taking maybe a wider approach, looking at, all of our facilities. Unfortunately, I was only able to focus on the courthouse this year. So what I did is I looked just at our plaza area and tried to come up with something that would complement our new micro market that will be opening up once the Treasurer's Department gets up to their new area. It allows staff an area to go eat, allow the public to enjoy. So I'm looking at a mixture between shrubs, landscaping, and hardscaping. I'm visualizing some more lighting out there, redoing how the flagpole is slated, getting some hard shell type of shade system. So we have a lot of birds downtown, and that's some of the feedback that I've gotten from employees is that space is unusable because of all the bird droppings. So I'd like to look at getting some type of hard shading type of setup out there. So when I did my research on the landscaping, there's essentially 3 different levels: low, mid, high. Low is just mainly grasses and smaller items like that. Medium, which is what I picked, does get us more into the shrubs, along with the additional hardscaping design. Trees, as I mentioned, hardscaping, lighting, and drainage, and I came up with 98,000.
Would that incorporate adding some trees around the whole perimeter of this block, like along the?
I did not factor that in, but I can tell you, just based on working with the city of Waterloo, when we originally looked at that project, they told me to figure about $400 a tree. So if that's something, that we're interested in doing, it's a fairly easy thing to tag on to this.
I think that's something I'd like to see incorporated.
We've had some feedback from residents, particularly over on 7th Street, kind of along our employee parking lot area. And we actually have a design that we had put together a few years back. I can't tell you exactly what type of tree, but it was a tree that was recommended by the city.
Yeah, I'd want to, we work with conservation to make sure we're picking native biowood trees. That would be, whether we're looking at white oaks or red buds, or we're on Mulberry Street here, like the white mulberry is a native. Messy, but
Absolutely. I mean, that's not in my bailiwick, so I would definitely need to get some professional opinions on that, so yes.
Mike, are there any trees that dissuade birds from hanging out in them?
I don't know about that, but mulberries you mentioned, you wouldn't want those.
Yeah.
That will cause quite a mess. But we'll look into that.
Any other questions on that? So,
You didn't estimate how many trees, 400 per tree, but.
no, in fact, with that 400 square foot area, and this is just my opinion, but I think for that I would maybe focus more on hard, like a shell type of shade, just because of the bird dropping potential on where people are eating. So I put trees there, but that could possibly get absorbed with some sort of structure. Jail flooring, this is the locker rooms over at the jail. They have 2 locker rooms over there. One is painted and one is currently epoxy, both of them. I had budgeted to replace both floors. The one that's epoxy, our staff did a number of years back. It actually hasn't held up too bad. There are a few areas that need addressed. It's just upkeep. That's really all it is. We actually looked at, my original slide had concrete polishing, and the more I thought about it and talked with a couple of vendors, polishing the concrete in the locker room may not be such a good idea because of slips. It gets a little slick in there, so we decided to stay with the epoxy. Very straightforward. Concrete, water drainage repairs. We put together approximately 1,100 square feet of sidewalk that's been addressed, that needs to be replaced. Over at the jail, there's sections of concrete that need to be, I'm not proposing to replace the whole parking lot, I'm just proposing to repair the sections that are bad. And then also JCS. We also have a drainage over at the, I guess it'd be along the southeast wall as you're coming to the entrance of the jail. We actually had some drainage issues down in our consolidated communications area. We actually had to remove a section of the wall along that back wall so we could try to identify where it was coming from. At that time, we did tuck pointing and sealant, thinking it was coming in through that area. It definitely helped it, but it didn't eliminate it altogether. And so part of this cost would include digging down and putting a seal coat on the foundation and putting new drainage in that area to try to correct that issue. That came in at $45,000. Courthouse security. So some of you, I know, this conversation's come up before. You know, over the years with law changes here at the courthouse, we are required, if we're going to prevent weapons from coming into the building, we are required to have an armed officer, and we do. We have 2 armed officers here at the courthouse. What I'm proposing is to have a 3rd officer here and basically take over the front entrance security services for us. Particularly the last couple of years, it's been very challenging with staffing with our outsourced company. Dependability's been an issue. You know, I think they're doing the best they can with what they have, but I feel that this would be a much better route to really keep our facility safe. And so what we did is I have the $142,000 that's under our current contract. I listed out here what a deputy cost or a civilian jailer. I have talked with the sheriff. We did go back and forth on this and talked about the reliability of the 2 deputies that are here. Can they solely be utilized for security here at the courthouse? Right, I know in the past there's been times where maybe one of them's been pulled off to address an issue in a courtroom or bring an inmate back and forth. It was our opinion that, or the sheriff's opinion, that if we were to move forward with this, that he could assign those 2 specifically to the guard station along with the 3rd person. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, I know in the past it was presented that it would cost more to have the deputies doing this, so I just.
I actually see this as a reduction depending on which way we go. If the alternative civilian jailer, you can see we're currently at $142,000 a year for our services. If we could get commitment from the 2 guards that are, the 2 deputies that are here, along with a 3rd person, if we can get that commitment from the 3, I feel we can address all the security issues. I think we're going to get more dependability, ownership, all the way around. The only thing that's missing from this is monitoring the parking lot, for the ordinance. So I'm working with the company that the city of Waterloo uses, Republic. We've actually had a couple of conversations. They're going to be putting together a proposal for me to manage our parking lots per how our ordinance is written now. But I do have some suggestions for ordinance, but I don't know if this is really the appropriate place to talk about that. But there are some suggestions on changing that ordinance just to update it essentially.
That's, I think, a good meeting to have late
Yeah.
session to do too. Yeah.
So I wouldn't propose, if we were to go this route and utilize the deputies to oversee security, to me, the safety of the building is priority, not the parking lot. That can be something that we can bring on, I think, to meet our ordinance language at a later time. But I do believe that addressing the security here at the courthouse is number one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I would also throw out there, I spoke with the Webster County Sheriff when I was in Des Moines, and they use bailiffs out there too, just retired deputies or retired cops too, who, as we know, are always looking for a side gig when they get bored, whether it be Hy-Vee, delivering flowers, or security.
Yeah, Nate and I did talk about that. I mean, there's been quite a few retirees here recently, so yeah, that's always that could be an option.
So the two individuals would be deputies for the most part and would stand at the security station, not just be.
Right, they would actually be manning the functions at the security station, so they would take over that whole procedure.
So
One
there would be rotational around the building.
Right, to cover for restroom, lunch breaks, because you really need somebody to man the x-ray machine, you need somebody to man the wand, and then that third person just to be there to cover if something comes up or somebody needs to go take a break.
Do we have to require a third full-time person though for that? I mean, someone's time for that rather than a partial?
I think some of those details could maybe be worked out a little bit with the sheriff. Obviously, the schedules would have to be staggered just a bit to eliminate overtime. So, for example, you may have 2 guards to open, and then a third guard comes in a little bit later who can stay a little bit later, because we have guards down there until 5:15. We do that because there's times when trials do run a little bit late. So they come in at 7:15 and they leave at 5:15. So that's where we would have to stagger that schedule just to eliminate any potential need for overtime.
Yeah, I understand that. I just thought having 3 might be a little bit of an overkill from having 3 that you're requiring to be there at all times. But
Well, there wouldn't be 3 it'd be staggered. So, I mean, you'd have 3 for the majority of the day.
I just meant that could be shared then with the sheriff's office, getting some use of that individual maybe too, and not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Another option I didn't put out here, but another option could be just our department hiring an individual to work alongside with the 2 officers that are here. The 2 officers would get us in compliance with the law and how the code's written to have an armed officer, and then just have another individual with them. That's another option as well.
Because the professional deputies, I think that adds a lot of value for us.
I think so.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see it be our own people. It was presented as too cost prohibitive in the past, so I think this is a good development.
We're under the umbrella of court security, as far as you know. Currently, is it one downstairs in the lobby? And I know we've discussed this before, so forgive me if I forgot some of the details, but how many are currently on that from the sheriff's office?
So the sheriff's office has 2 assigned to the courthouse. In the past, it wasn't unusual for one of them to maybe get pulled off because they were so short-staffed. So it wasn't unusual for somebody to get pulled off to transport or another assignment maybe in a courtroom. But in the position of where they're at right now, my understanding is that they can make that commitment to keep those 2 officers that are assigned to the courthouse, keep that commitment to specifically controlling the security station moving forward.
I don't want to put you on the spot. Roughly how many, and if you can't answer this, actually, that's fine, but how many employees do we have in this building? If we're to ballpark.
In this building, I want to say close to 200. Does that sound about right with state? I want to say it's around 200.
And
We did a
then,
parking lot assessment one time, and I wanna say we came up maybe 220, kind of in that neighborhood.
okay, and then factoring in Pinecrest as well.
So this proposal does not include Pinecrest.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was gonna get at how many, roughly 100, 125 over
Yeah,
there maybe?
Yeah, I think that's probably a safe number.
And then we probably have to cover down for that too then, right?
Well, see, with Pinecrest currently right now, we do have security over there, it's Permar. We do not have an armed officer at that location. So all that security officer is just to provide assistance if needed. They make rounds throughout the building just to show their presence.
Here it was the courts were really, it's our engagement with the courts and some of the things
Yep.
that go on here
Yeah.
that require us to do that.
And Pinecrest is a challenge because you have the multiple entrances as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's a discussion that we probably need to have with regards to Pinecrest and how we see the guard service in that facility moving forward.
Okay.
You made a lot of changes to the building too recently.
We did, a lot of upgrades. We have the main wings are all key fobbed. Cameras, within the Pinecrest project, we are actually putting in 6 external cameras all the way around the facility, so it's gonna get us eyes on just about everything. So that's going to be a huge improvement. We also have cameras on each floor, so we can see movement there. So, yeah, I would like to say we've made some pretty huge improvements to the security aspect of that building compared to what it was.
That's all I have, thank you.
Yep.
That would be a good conversation though for us for a work session, not only, like I said, what we do with this when you're talking about being off topic, but the parking lot, the ordinance change in the parking lot, and looking at that all again, because it's been a while.
Yeah, I think that would all kind of fall under just a discussion, so, yeah.
That's something else for your list.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Did you all get hard copies of this?
Like your presentation?
Yeah. Can you read it?
Can I what?
Is the font big enough?
Well, it was for me, because I
It-
put on a slide.
It wasn't until Carol fixed it for me.
Oh, thank you. Presentation.
So the Carnegie Library Annex. As some of you know, we've been, there was a small committee that was put together to look at potential options to find a different home for the attorney's office. And I'll have Brian, as we go through this, Brian can talk to more of the reasons why. But what I have done is I put together basically information on the Carnegie Library cost. We have some different options between leasing and purchasing. I believe we're pretty accurate on the number of offices that are available. I feel pretty comfortable with the estimates that I put in there for build-outs if needed, and a good estimate on ongoing expenses.
So this is really just one option that you brought forward, this far forward, but they could be open to other options as well, correct? I mean, this is just one that
This is-
location-wise and
Yep.
everything seems to.
Yep, yep. So the roof had been replaced on that facility back in 2019, HVAC replaced in 18. I did meet with the City of Waterloo's maintenance, which was very helpful. We walked through the facility, got a good eyes on it. No major structural issues, cosmetic, I mean, you walk in there, it is a bit dated, so as you'll see in the costs that I put in there, I did factor in new carpet. There is some caulking around the windows, I was told needed to be updated or replaced, so I factored that in. Here are the options that were, and just so you know, I'm sure you all know, but the city, the City Hall and this facility, I don't know if I have this exactly right, but were either sold or traded with the gentleman that owned the Waterloo Courier building. So that's how this all kind of transpired. And so this information is coming from the new owner of the Carnegie Library. So he gave me an option for a 5-year lease, 3,600 triple net. Basically, that just means we would be responsible for everything except for the roof and the structure. So mechanicals, you name it, that would be on our dime. 10-year lease goes down just a bit, down to $3,000 a month, same thing, triple net. Option 3, purchasing as it is right now at $475,000. Those are the 3 options that were proposed to me to acquire this facility. Build out costs, as I mentioned, flooring replacement, painting, general cosmetic, IT infrastructure, that's a big one. That's probably at least 40% of that cost is just dealing with the IT infrastructure of it. That's working with our IT staff. So that came in at roughly $115,000. I feel like I'm going to be a bit conservative on that number, but I tried to key in the best I could. Annual, again, these are annual operating costs. That came in $30,000 annually. That's just upkeep on the mechanical systems, adding janitorial, just minor equipment, repairs and such. So that would be basically the investment.
30,000 for the utilities and the janitor and everything? You might be a little conservative? Is that what you're saying?
Could be. I did reach out. I got a historical on the utility numbers. I know what the elevator maintenance cost is based on our other facilities. I kind of have a good feeling on the mechanical part of it, just based on the age. Obviously, that number is going to go up over the years as that equipment ages. So yeah, that's.
And that's on us if we lease the elevator.
I think it makes sense to me to buy it. I think we should be moving on that. We need the space. We're gonna need it for more than 10 years. So keep our investments in it.
Is the address 620 Mulberry? Does that sound right?
Yes. That's it.
Is that right?
I'm just randomly guessing.
Yeah, you should have that number.
I do glad.
To your answer, Chris, when you're looking at the lease, I mean, I somewhat agree that if you are leasing, you're essentially, that owner's paying taxes on that property. With us being a tax exempt entity, it seems a little, kind of behooves us to pay that, you know.
I mean, the development.
It's the history of the building too, I think it should remain in the public good. I don't think the other one on the other side of the river should have ever been sold off privately either, but that was a couple generations ago. But it's, I think Carnegie libraries are an important part of history, especially across Iowa. I believe the first one was in Fairfield, if I'm correct, first one in the country, and so.
Yeah, I can tell you there's a little over 1,600 libraries that were built in the United States. Iowa, there's a few that are actually still operating as libraries.
The Dubuque one is still.
Yeah. I did a little bit of research, but I am no expert by no means.
And I think that Waterloo was the only city of this side to have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because of
A disagreement on location.
Yeah.
So, based on, I guess, our evaluation, it does look like it could be a viable option for relocating county attorneys, but I'm going to let Brian speak to, when he's up, he can speak more to you know, the reasons why and what his pitch is, so. I just wanted to make, you know, get this in front of you, so.
Has he been over, have you been over to see it, take a look at it?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, so I put together, these are the best plans I could get right now. They're building evacuation plans, but it gives you a good idea of the layout of the facility. These are a little bit closer up, so first floor of the Carnegie and then the basement. These areas right here, that's the human rights. Those are active offices. This side is more storage. You have a couple office spaces over here, but it's mainly restroom, mechanical, and storage. First floor annex, I think probably everybody's familiar with the window there. That just kind of gives you an idea too of the layout that they currently have. Any questions on the Carnegie? This just a new 3/4 ton pickup. This is consistent with us changing out our fleet. Just to give you a little statistics on our fleet. Yeah, we currently have 8 pickups in total. 2 of them are 1 ton pickups and they're used for our sanders. 1 pickup is designated for our safety coordinator. And the remaining are our maintenance staff and property assistants. We actually have 1 truck yet to purchase this budget year. And our goal is to actually put those trucks out on GovDeal. I feel that based on some historical sales that we've had on GovDeals, I think we can probably get the best bang for our buck by going out on auction with our older units. So that would be our game plan, rather than trading them in. Our units, our oldest vehicle is a dump truck. It's 26 years old. The one that we would actually be replacing for this budget year is 16 years old, and this one here is 14 years old. Only has 32,000 miles, but those are very hard miles. They're used for moving snow and hauling salt and sand. So that's and the goal is every year is to replace until all of our fleet's been completed, which is actually going to be after this year we would have essentially 3 more trucks left to go. Any questions with that?
Actually, just back on the Carnegie again.
Oh.
I think that
Sorry.
we should maybe schedule a work session on that soon, because I mean, I don't want to lose an opportunity. But
Yeah. We'll listen to what Brian's gonna propose too,
Yeah.
I guess, but yeah. You should put your trucks in for Carnegie.
Say what?
You should have put your trucks information before.
I know, it's all over the place.
I lost that. Thanks.
I just started going, and next thing I know, I had 47 pages.
And that's not in your capital overview anyway. The Carnegie.
It's,
not in
no, that kind of falls under that miscellaneous category.
your budget though.
We're on the trucks, what's the hopeful lifespan that you guys try to get out of it?
You know, the one that's 2014, I mean, it's really, the boxes are what we're losing on them. They're getting rusted out.
Yeah.
And, you know, we even put the spray-on shell in them, and we've tried, one of them we even put a stainless steel insert in them. So I would say that probably 10 years. I know that.
These are Chevys?
They're a mix. I've got Rams, I've got 1 Chevy, and majority of them are Fords.
Okay.
And what we've done is gone out to the state bid and purchased those. So ours is at 50,000. It is a stripped out truck. It's a 4-wheel drive, single cab. It does have a radio and does have heat and air conditioning. Short of that,
Roll up windows.
yeah, it's, they're pretty basic.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, snow removal equipment. I did put in, I didn't know how to really explain it. Snow mover, I had snow pusher, I had all kinds of different names for this, and I ended up with snow mover with sander. It doesn't show the sander on it, but it actually has a sander that you can attach to the back of this unit, and this would be for our sidewalks. We currently have a Bobcat UTV that we purchased a number of years back, and it's served us pretty well up until the last couple of years, and we've just had a lot of issues maintenance-wise. It's been in the shop. This last year I was in the shop, 3 different shops, trying to figure out, we're just not getting the power that we should get out of it. And the last recommendation that we got for it was to actually change out the engine. And that was about a $6,000 cost. So what I would propose is these units, I've noticed the city of Waterloo uses them. They're very versatile. It looks like they do a great job. Some of the feedback that I've gotten from my staff is our UTV, although it works, we have great attachments. It's a little wide, a little difficult to see all around you, which is really important for safety. I just feel like this particular unit would serve us pretty well for several years to come. So, that is an actual quote that I'd received from a local supplier. And then the snow plows, that would just be, we have a couple of snow plows that we've limped along for the last couple of years. We've welded holes, the straight edge, we've worked on it. They're getting to the point where they're just falling apart. So this is just replacing those. Okay, pretty straightforward. Courthouse surveillance cameras, this is just adding additional exterior cameras. We currently, right now, we have Lafayette and the parking lot, but we have nothing on Mulberry and this street. So this would be adding a couple of cameras there. This is the total of them all. Get there, that's it. Any questions on all that?
I'd like to go over with you at some point, check out the Sycamore building.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Well, I owe Mike a trip too. We gotta get out there and see some
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, just let me know.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I need to take
Yeah.
2 minutes here.
Let's do it.
That you're sharing right after.
It's ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, I'll just wait until.
Good job. Nice presentation. Except we all stopped looking at trucks and snowplows as soon as we got to Carnegie Library. That's why I should have pushed them ahead. Doesn't matter.
It's gonna be short or long, what do you think?
It is.
Trying to decide if I should have gone to the restroom or not.
Brian's
It's okay.
The ones that
No, unless you talk about Carnegie though.
This is what
We're small but mighty.
Yes.
Hi this morning. I think that needs to go down, to 11. No, I'm sorry.
Can't fix it now, but.
No, I know, I just, before I forget,
Your assistant county attorney?
yeah, that should, because you added percentage deputies, that's gonna stay at 2, this should go
Yeah.
down to 11, this should go down
It was more.
to. Huh?
I think it was more. I think I did take it down one,
Did you?
but,
Okay.
because
I tried to do the numbers.
you've
it was-
got the same FTEs, unless I'm missing somebody else. I mean, a different position.
Maybe I'm just crazy.
Why don't you, if you haven't, well, I guess I'm, well, I don't know, I tried. You
Just
know what?
in the-
Come here a
It's
minute.
been about 4 years. I was on the Human Rights Commission, so just in that area, really.
Oh.
Yeah, I
Oh, wait,
Is it? It's, they've added on, but.
I don't know about.
Certainly, and there's
Okay.
class.
Yeah, okay, as long as it's that one. Well, here, I'm gonna show you.
Areas, and it's beautiful wrought iron catwalk.
Personnel.
It's
Tell me.
out of the city.
city does.
Yep.
See you there. So. Because 6.
No, and this is earlier, said they haven't seen anything. Staff was starting to ask, like, oh, they're supposed to be coming in.
Well, those are your two victims in this.
Okay, yeah, you're right, you're right.
I'd be happy to
I-
take
I-
one
I-
away, but I don't
I
want
tried
you
to
to.
put pen to paper.
It's not easy when they change. It's really not.
When Brian.
Are we good to
Yep. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off here.
All right, I'm gonna.
Good morning.
Morning, Brian.
So I will start with the Carnegie. I've been pretty annoying here the last year. So Rory has my deepest apologies because I have been bothering him quite a bit. And if there's an enemy we're trying to identify here, it's former Supervisor Chalker, because he's the one that started this conversation.
It's kind of been off and on again for you, so it's kind of been frustrating too.
Yeah, I mean, the wake-up call was shortly after COVID, when we started losing people. Haven't really bounced back from that. Conversation always is, first question always is it pay? And I have to be honest with him and say, no, it's not. But there is certainly a deterrent to this basement. Not complaining, it is what it is. Difficult to walk into. I have one employee with pre-existing conditions who was told by her doctor she shouldn't be working in there. And that's tough to hear as a boss, that, you know, someone's walking in and struggling with that decision. So it's something I do want to get with Rory. We just got the numbers late last week. We visited about 10 days ago or so. Big, beautiful building. It's the third one we've viewed. Certainly this was the nicest of the three, had plenty of space. One major benefit to it is there's substantial amount of storage in it, that we could get a lot of our stuff out of the basement of the jail, which we hold quite a bit of stuff, and I don't know if there's clerk stuff down there or not, but we would have substantial storage. I do have a line item from fine collection for purchase of furniture, which I was gonna do years ago, and then we did the space assessment, and I was told to hold off, and so that is in there. Starting with fine collection, and I'm happy to answer any questions about Carnegie. Still, this has been moving pretty quickly.
So your impression so far is that this would be a workable space?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one question that I meant to ask Roy, and I met with Rodney, again, 7 to 10 days ago. I don't know what it looks like after they leave in terms of office furniture, cubicles, other things that may or may not be left behind. Because even on top of the existing offices, there's substantial amounts of open space that you can get a lot of people. We could spend a whole day and not see each other. But some days that might be a good thing.
Sure. So you could possibly even share that space
Yeah.
with others?
Yeah.
Or would it be just for the county attorney?
No, there'd be, I don't know what that would look like, but yeah, there'd be certainly,
Maybe
and that would be one of the considerations, whether we lease or buy too. Yeah, there's space over there.
So we have money for the study in this year's budget to a space as far as our office or wherever. I guess maybe I wonder if we can put that to use soon and start looking at
Yeah.
some of the spaces that we could use.
And I did speak with Michelle briefly about utilities and whether or not that could come out of my fine collection fund. Not knowing the numbers, I think that's possibly doable.
So the funding you were looking at, though, you said from the fine collection that you have was more for furniture?
Have that, and then for utilities, whatever that may be. The furniture was originally planned to be here at the courthouse. But now, if we are able to move, it would be over there, so.
Any funding you think available for the building, like if we were to purchase?
I haven't got that far, again, just haven't got the numbers yet.
Really?
Yeah, and I think Roy was a little surprised by the number that came in. I think he was expecting, I don't know if he's here, expecting a little bit more, but.
And the timeline for them moving out?
I want to say Rodney thought it was April. Does that sound right?
I reached out to the city for an answer on that. I haven't gotten anything back. I reached out to Noel just to see what their timeline looked like. And I haven't received anything back, so I'm not sure. I'm assuming they're doing a pretty significant build out over at the Courier building, so obviously it depends on that. But as soon as I do hear something, I'll let you know.
You said April of like 26?
I thought it was going to be a slow process beginning in April this year, right? With human rights who were over there, some of the other employees. I thought they were going to start moving that sooner rather than later.
Is it possible that Rodney knows of serious deficiencies that he might not be letting us in on?
So that was part of the reason why I wanted to talk with the maintenance staff that's been overseeing that building over the several years.
Yeah.
And I also spoke with the building official, asked him what is there is there anything behind the scenes that I need to know? They all said that it's a solid building. They didn't have any significant issues that they were aware of, other than the caulking. There is a window that's missing on the top floor. He said that was just due to some caulking issues, and literally that was it. They put some investment into the building. Like I said, they had replaced the roof. There was some HVAC upgrades I believe they did back in maybe 2019, somewhere in there. So I felt pretty comfortable especially when I got with the maintenance crew, because maintenance, they know everything, so.
Based on how long he spoke, But again, I look forward to just future conversations. Again, this is happening in real time here, so I'm happy to talk with the board, and if there's any questions along the way. I do want to then move on to fine collection. And for our newest member, I just want to take 3 minutes and explain what that is. If a fine, regardless of the form that it comes in, it becomes delinquent, meaning it's usually 30 days, it can be longer, but it's typically 30 days. The code allows for us or the state to collect that delinquent. If we make our declaration that we want to collect it, we get first dibs. Automatically off the top, the county gets, this has changed over the years, the county gets 28%, that goes in the general fund. Once we hit a $400,000 threshold, that bumps up to 33%. And then 5% in addition goes into the county attorney. So I have 4 dedicated people who collect that. Those numbers don't actually encompass everything. They also collect victim restitution. They also do driver reinstatement programs. So someone who doesn't have the driver's license could come down, enter into a wage assignment. We get a hold of DOT, get the license lifted, and they'll have their license back. So they do a lot of different services, and that was one of the questions for me. If we are able to move over to Carnegie, do they stay or go? Makes more sense for them to stay because a lot of these individuals are already in the courthouse doing other business. Conversation for a different day.
So the state takes that other 72 or 67% then,
Yep.
anyway.
I don't have any reoccurring costs out of that 5% fund of mine, other than $25,000 that goes to the Child Protection Center for services rendered, namely testimony. Obviously, we work closely with them. We just exercised an MOU with them late last week, so we've been doing that since long before. That's the only reoccurring cost. I also had furniture in there. Don't use it a lot. Sometimes we'll use it for specialized training. In addition to fine collection, then we have forfeiture money that goes to the state. That remains constant because it's rarely used. Our dockets just don't really provide for too much in terms of forfeiture. I think much to the chagrin of law enforcement, who I think would certainly want us to utilize it a little bit more. We don't have the judges and we don't have the resources to really pursue it too much. But nonetheless, when it does come in, we don't usually use too much of that. In terms of staffing, the only major change is that, and it's not a new position, it would be from an existing position, as I did add a second, this calls it a percentage deputy, the code calls it first assistant. So this would be taking someone as a standard assistant county attorney, placing them into that percentage county. It's a difference of about $12,000. The only benefit is by code, they can only make 85% of what I make. That's kind of how we reward them as we place them in that same bracket.
And you were saying you had one of those and you're adding an additional,
Adding an additional one, but it wouldn't be a new employee.
not a new staff.
No, it would be someone that would just cross over. And I'm sorry, I didn't really get to this, but in terms of fine collection, it has remained relatively constant. There were some state reporting errors earlier or late last year that we're trying to get adjusted. The concern we had at one point in time is the law didn't change, but the interpretation of the law changed, where someone owes a fine, a judge has the ability to determine if they have the reasonable ability to pay. And, I mean, those run the gamut. It just depends on who you get on what day. But it hasn't changed too much in terms of the bottom line here. We're gonna be constant, as we have been the last several fiscal years, but it does fluctuate. Lastly, I do want to talk a little bit, before I answer any questions, is I know the board's always interested in specialty courts. We currently have three, could be considered four. We have our standard long-time drug court. We now have a misdemeanor drug court. We have a probation violation court, and we just started working and having discussions about a veteran court through the VA outreach that we're trying to get that. It stalled a little bit late last year, but they're very interested. And my biggest fear with VA courts is whether we'd have the numbers. It sounds like we will. That was the main concern, is that we wouldn't have enough people that would even, that would have a criminal charge and would otherwise be considered a veteran, and that they'd be eligible. Sounds like we have quite a few that would be eligible.
So that's still stalled somewhat?
It's still stalled a little bit. We have to get we gotta run it through the chief judge and then find a judge that wants to participate in it, which I think we will, and then just get with the VA outreach worker there on, I think she's on University, the new building.
What about mental health court? I know we've mildly discussed that in the past. I mean, I'm meeting with the state HHS director here soon, and we'll be going to Ashley Henson's office in the next couple days to discuss some things. What I've learned is that this is really federal level issues that we have to deal with on a county level. And I feel like some of these things, it just takes state legislation changes. Is that even, I mean, do you think that's even in the wheelhouse?
Yeah, they had one when I first started in 2006. I don't know what ended up happened to it. The issue with the mental health court would be someone who could monitor the program, administer the program, report to the court. It would primarily be done through a member of the Department of Corrections. Gets a little touchier when you talk about mental health. Just the reporting, coming back to the court, because they're not otherwise experts in that field. So that would be the only concern, but there'd be no other limitations to implementing that. Drug court now, we still don't have pathways for years. But we had a probation officer, they would report to the probation officer, and then if there were missed appointments or continued use, that's a little easier to convey to the court that, hey, we gotta monitor versus, what's this individual's medication? Are they compliant? So just having that person, but I think there'd be interest in it, whether it be Black Hawk Grundy or.
Yeah, it's something I would really have a strong interest in looking into. Speaking from the perspective of literally dealing with it every single day. Yep. And the biggest problem is, where do they go? Mm-hmm. And I could get on a soapbox, which I will not right now because I'm probably isn't the time, but we definitely need to make some serious improvements to this situation.
Funding would not be a concern. The concern would be who monitors the program.
Yeah.
Be the biggest hindrance, I think.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever done like a rough crunch of the numbers of how much like the probation court is ultimately saving the county, like getting people, because I imagine people get a probation violation and then the judge works with them to just get them on the right path rather than sending them back over and over again.
Yeah, so our primary focus in this probation court is, one, we focus on those individuals that have technical violations. So missed appointment, drug use, generally anybody that doesn't have a new criminal charge. We get them in, we get them out. If there is incarceration, it's short-term and it's immediate. And they get them out, back on supervision. We're looking at probably ballparking at 10 a week. rough estimate, but yeah, certainly have got away from long-term incarceration at the jail or the prison. If they get a new criminal charge, particularly it's a felony, that's running the ship, the new charge. Whereas these with technical violations, as long as we can get them in and out, get them on the right path, we're talking about a day or two to get them out.
I think it's one of the factors that's playing into that we're not having to outsource places for inmates as much as we did in years past. So
Sure.
I appreciate those efforts very much.
So yeah, it's been quite some time before we've had it. Boy, when I first started, we do have a weekly jail meeting too that takes care of a lot of that. Anything else for me?
Sir?
Okay.
On your budget, but like I say, currently, we probably should be having sessions and doing that, so we
Sure,
get more
absolutely.
information, more time.
Yeah. I want to get with Roy and maybe take another walkthrough over there and see. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything more to come on the work session budget we want to cover or anything?
Not today.
Tuesday session, I guess if we have, I suppose we'll have, if we got any.
We will definitely have something. I'm trying to finish compiling the quarterly ARPA report. This is a big one because we had so many large contracts, but we'll be probably ready to talk about some of the other miscellaneous board activities, but we'll have topics.
Were you thinking of talking about ARPA then next week, or you need the ARPA report?
No, I just have the ARPA report that's,
Has to be due at the.
it's filed, yeah, it's due this Friday to the Treasury. And I just had to focus on that here for a little bit, so we'll get it done.
And we all kind of agreed there wasn't gonna be a Thursday session.
Correct.
We all made plans probably for the 30th. All right. Any reports or information from the board? And the only thing I was gonna touch on, is I know Lori sent us an email regarding that P and Z position. And we have one candidate, an applicant, I guess, and do we wanna go ahead and interview the one? And then make a determination if we need to wait for others and look at others, or do we wanna wait, or what's the board's pleasure?
I think let's go ahead and interview for one person.
Interview and see if we can get it done.
Yeah, how long has that been open?
I don't think it's been all that long. The Board of Adjustment's been open quite a while. I don't know that the P and Z one has. So I think we just had somebody recently, maybe a month or so.
So then, opportunity was there for people to apply,
Yes,
one guy applied, yeah, interview, get it done.
and it's hard to get, we need to
Yeah.
get some of these positions too, so that'd be great. I certainly, we usually have two people that'll interview, so if either one of you, I'll be happy to do one and see if we can get it set up.
I'm hoping to be a part of it.
Yeah. Over it.
Super.
Yeah.
All right. And Health Department,
Yeah, we're interviewing next week. We've
Are you?
got it scheduled.
Okay, great, because I thought we had filled it. We know of any interest in that takes time. Okay, super. All right. I'll ask for a motion for adjournment. No?
So moved.
No,
So
okay,
moved,
stay
yeah,
here.
second.
We wait till noon. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to meeting's adjourned.